Hey everyone, and welcome to the Imagineers Disney podcast. On this week's episode, we celebrate Ruthie Tompson's 110th birthday. Plus, we talk about the legacy of her and all of the ink and paint girls of Disney animation and what they brought to the table and gave us for all the future Disney movies. So stick around, all that ahead on the Imagineers Disney podcast.
There's really no secret about our approach. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors, doing new things, because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. We're always exploring and experimenting.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. It is good to have you again, as always, for another episode. And I am always privileged to have my good friend and co-host, Susie. Hello, Susie.
You are privileged. You're right.
so humble.
Oh, well, whatever. You get an intro like that, you have to play it up. But yeah, how are you doing?
Doing okay.
Yeah.
It's been a busy week, and but this is always one of the highlights of my week, just to sit down with you and with everyone else who listens and watches our show. We love you very much, and we've actually gotten a lot of emails recently from you guys, and it's always
cool.
great hearing from you. And I think this is going to be a really fun topic. It's
we get good feedback when we do these kind of like unique little pieces of Disney history, just because there's so many unsung heroes. And we got to see like the story of that when we talked about Walton El Grupo, and see how like Mary Blair came out of that story. So this is going to be a really fun one that I'm looking forward to, because we hear a lot about the men from the animation years and this animation studio early years, and there's a lot of really good ladies out there who we need to recognize.
Tonight it is all about the ladies, and man, I'm telling you, it's just we do a lot of research for these shows, and just doing the research, we have to give a lot of credit to so many women who worked behind the scenes, most of the time uncredited. And especially in the hand-drawn animation era, the ink and paint, they were known as the ink and paint girls, were just so vital to that. But we'll talk about them, but especially one of them. Tonight we are going to be talking about Ruthie Tompson.
Yeah, girl. Oh my gosh. You guys, just wait till you hear this chick.
Her story is so amazing. And the reason why we're focusing on her is because tomorrow, Wednesday, is her 110th birthday.
That is insane. Like, the number of people in general who live to triple digits is limited, but like she's plowed through that first decade, and the number of people in general who have stories and a direct connection to those early years of the studio are drastically limited at this point. So she's definitely a treasure for a lot of reasons, especially her contribution to Disney, but like also like what a achievement. 110 years. That's insane.
Yeah. And she has actually said the secret to her longevity, because once you get to 110, people ask, all right, what's your secret? And her answer was, I smoked and I drank, but not that much. So
okay,
there you go.
I also think, though, that there becomes a time in your life when you reach a certain age that no one can tell you what to do.
Sure.
It doesn't matter anymore. I cannot wait to get to that age. I'm just going to eat what I want and say what I want and do what I want. I can't wait to be old.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Well, let's
That's my
talk a little
goal.
bit. Let's start talking about Ruthie a little bit.
Yeah.
And just kind of her background. She actually met the Disneys, the brothers Disney, Roy and Walt, at a very young age. So she actually moved out to California in the late 19, I think it was around 1918.
Yeah.
And in the 1920s is where she grew up, actually right down the road from Walt and Roy's studio. So before the Disney studio, she actually knew or became acquainted with Walt and Roy, and actually became involved with Roy's Alice comedies. So he would pick out kids from the neighborhood, and I think pay them like 25 cents each to be in his short little animation films, live action like films. But he would practice special effects. And that's where Ruthie became, acquainted with them. And when she was in high school, she started working for the local polo club, which is where Walt and Roy were. And that's
I have to say right there, I love watching old footage of them playing polo. I don't know why. I think that whole like time period in general is just really cool. But seeing, the Walt Disney not in his suit, not walking down Main Street, like doing polo. First of all, like, who knows anything about polo? Like, it's just kind of like a lot, it's not like in our region or our area, like very popular. It's just so cool to see them doing something outside of what we know them doing so well. Like they're regular people, and how their lives, how they met Ruthie, like how that whole connection happened. I just think it's just such a fun story. I don't know.
Right. And, they really encouraged her to go to night school and maybe, learn about animation. And that's exactly what she did.
Yeah.
So she went to night school to learn how to animate, and actually latched on to ink and paint. And if you don't know what that is, it's literally the animation is drawn, but then they add the color.
Yeah.
So when we are talking about ink and paint, that is what they did. So the first one I think she did was called Lonesome Ghost. It was a little Mickey Mouse short, and she actually worked on an animation cell, and she kept it, and she still has it. And I forgot to get a picture of it, but I thought I was looking for it. I missed it. Oh well.
Well, we also let's just pause there for a minute and talk about how the whole dynamic of the studio was back then. Of course, like culture has changed. But back in the 20s, 30s, men were animation. So they were creating these characters, drawing characters like you talked about, but they're blank. And then the women would go in and paint them. So we know like Frank and Ollie, and we have the old 9 men that like everyone knows, from the animation side. But the women had to go in and give the characters life. Like color is so important, especially when you're looking at like the first, and we'll get to it in a little bit, full length animation film with Snow White, how color is so important and makes such a difference in that story. But they were oftentimes uncredited. So, and the ability to work your way up in any type of way. Some of the ladies did, but it was harder, just as the nature of the industry was back then. So these ladies, had to learn a trade that wasn't going to get them any attention. Was also during a time when you would, oh my gosh, look at that. Look at their hair. Gosh, I just love it so much. But the attention to detail and the consistency.
If you look at this, that is what she's actually putting ink and paint to. It's Saludos Amigos.
Yes, it is. We just talked about that.
Yes, we did. I found that photo. I'm like, that's super interesting. We're gonna do that. Just other examples: Pinocchio, Mickey Mouse itself, and it's really fascinating just to see what they did. And I actually did I imported the photo. I just didn't edit it. So this is going to look really strange on the screen. You're probably going to see us in the photo. But anyway, this is the cell that
gosh,
Ruthie worked on. And that this cell is literally where her career started.
Yeah.
This was the springboard for her career.
Wow.
They immediately saw the talent for it and said, you need to be in animation. And so her career began. She worked on the first full-length feature, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and helped do some corrections towards the end of production, touching up cells for that film. Ruthie is also known as one of the people who was heavily involved in what happened after Snow White, and that is Walt's Field Day, which I don't know if you've ever heard of.
Yes.
You know what Walt's Field Day is?
Yes.
I think
I love footage from this too.
I think that Walt's Field Day would be an excellent podcast topic.
Yeah.
At some point. But it was a wild night, and it was never done again.
But, I wonder why.
It involves riding horses through hotel lobbies and lots of adult beverages. And frivolity.
There's also, again, another cultural shift, though, at the studio after that success, where it went from being more of a tight-knit family to being like, oh, this is an actual business. Like, this is going to be a process that we need to repeat, over and over, and growing and expansion and everything. So she was also part of that initial before the big boom, where everything took off, that she got to be a part of those little things. So yeah, no, that's a story for another night.
Right. But just kind of rattling off all of the things that she did. Ink and paint for Snow White, Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo. Oh, and I think one of the most interesting stories with her and Dumbo was, I don't know if we can thank her for this or not, but they did an early test screening of Dumbo. And in that test screening was the first time that Baby Mine was presented. And so they come out, and Walt actually went directly to Ruthie and asked, what did you think of the song? And Ruthie's like, it was special. Like this, you need to keep it.
It is a very emotional song. Yeah.
And then, Walt says, well, then we'll keep it. So it's in the song because in the movie.
Pretty well.
So, but Dumbo Sleeping Beauty is where she actually progressed and was promoted to checker and scene planner. So this is where she was getting the final say on the ink and paint work by the other people of that crew. Mary Poppins, the Aristocats, Robin Hood, the Rescuers. And she even actually did some stuff outside of Disney. She did Popeye the Sailor, the animation for the cartoon series from 1960 to 1962, and also did some work for The Lord of the Rings, not the recent movies, the 1978
animated.
So,
yeah. So that's 40 years of the Walt Disney Company. She became the oldest member of the Women in Animation organization. And we talked about it. You talk about being promoted. It just didn't happen very often. Right. There wasn't a very structured, you do this and you do this and you do this. Unfortunately, if you were a woman and you're going through also a time period where we talked about it with Walt and El Grupo, the strike, the World War II, just significant changes throughout these other things that she was able to navigate and still hold her own and find those other needs in the industry and fill in the gaps where needed.
Yeah, and later on in her career with Disney, she with the scene planners, she helped stage the cameras for the animations to shoot on. So when they're using the multi-plane camera, she was setting everything up for that.
Mhm.
And because of her skill as a camera operator, she was actually at that time one of only 3 women in
Really?
the local camera union there
Yeah.
in Hollywood. So easily can be considered a trailblazer for her work in both animation for ink and paint, and
Yeah.
then of course as a camera operator for animation.
At 2000, she was honored through the Disney Legends program. So
Yes.
she received her award there, and obviously that's well earned when you look at 4 decades of experience from literally like the first animated film ever, and like we talked about all those other accomplishments that she has reached throughout her life. Look at her.
I mean, isn't she adorable?
I just want to hang out with her. I want to know all of her stories. I want to know, what life was like back then in general, and of course working in an industry that was more male dominated, but also during a time where you typically weren't working as much if you were a woman. And so she's definitely earned everything that she's had.
Yep, absolutely. And there is actually a great book on this subject. It is Ink and Paint: The Women of Walt Disney's Animation by Mindy Johnson. So if you just search for that on Amazon or just online, you can find that, and it's really an even broader, in-depth look at what exactly these women did
Yeah,
and how much they contributed to the company. I mean, we just have so much to thank them for. Just
without a
they
doubt.
color is so important to film, and when we've looked at that recently with Saludos Amigos and Mary Blair, the watercolor segment of that movie,
Yeah.
and these women just were vital, and we can't thank them enough, for sure.
I have another woman I think I would like to call out for making an important decision, having worked briefly at the Walt Disney Company before becoming a Disney herself. And that's Walt's wife, Lillian.
Yes.
So Lillian Disney, of course, Walt's wife, began her career at the studio in ink and paint as well as a secretary when she met Walt. So not necessarily the painting or artistry legacy that Ruthie had, but Lillian, of course, made a huge contribution. And we can go into the story, but Walt had a character named Oswald.
Mhm.
Walt didn't read the fine print, and unfortunately, through distribution channels and such, he lost the rights to this character. And then, he's at his lowest point. They also took many of his animators from the studio, and it's just a critical point in his life. What are you going to do next? And he created a character that we all know and love, but by a different name. Initially, Mickey was Mortimer Mouse. And it was Lillian who
Thank
told
you,
Walt.
Lily.
Lily told Walt that Mortimer sounded too depressing, and so she suggested the name Mickey. And can you imagine something as depressing as Mortimer, especially during a time in the country where economically and just socially, the country was also beaten down, similar to, Walt's experience? We wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't have a studio where Ruthie could have worked. I really feel like just the name Mickey totally transformed the entire landscape of what the company would become just by nature of that name. I think the name Mortimer was a flop. So Lillian is.
But we eventually did get Mortimer. If any of you watch the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse with your preschoolers like I do. Ha cha cha.
Yeah, it's not something I can say I do in my spare time.
One day. Shout out Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. So yeah, anyway, I mean, such a great topic, such great women, and again, happy birthday to Ruthie.
Yeah, you go, girl.
She's living it up in her retirement community. And we just wish her the best on her birthday tomorrow. And hopefully she has many more in the future.
Yeah.
We'll be around a little while longer.
Yeah. Cool.
Anyway, well, anything else you want to talk about tonight, Susie?
Actually, yeah, I kind of want to tease a little something. So, we had a important topic tonight in talking about these ladies. But when we are done here live recording, or if you're listening afterwards, Matt and I are going to be recording our first monthly video for our Patreon. Yay! So just to talk about that a little bit, we have 4 tiers of patron memberships with different monthly costs and benefits. So there's a $2 a month, a $5 a month, an $8 a month, and a $12 a month. And of course, with those different tiers, you get different benefits. Every member is eligible for our monthly giveaways, and every tier is also eligible to watch our monthly videos. So we're going to be recording that in just a little bit. It's our first one, and we're very excited. This will be fun.
An icebreaker that I think is going to be fun.
We are doing trivia of how well we know each other based on like our Disney preferences. So this could go south really fast. I don't know. We'll see. It's been 2.5 years of podcasting. We're really excited, but I wanted to talk about that because we've had a great time so far with our patrons. Our top tier level, we call them our Imagineers. We do a monthly Zoom call with them, and we did that last week and just got to hang out and talk about Disney and movies and just different things going on. So we're growing our community, not just so we can be like, look at all of our followers. But we know these are tough times, and it's nice to have a community of fellow Disney fans and like-minded friends from across the country that you get to meet. So that's kind of what we're doing with people. I can't wait to do our video and see how everything goes. So had to talk about that.
Yeah. And again, we've had people just say that they like how positive we are, and definitely want to toot our own horn. But I think generally you and I are reasonably positive people to begin with. So we like how positive you guys are too. So we enjoy all of the interactions that we have with you on social media. And you can find us on social media. We are the Imagineers Disney Podcast on Facebook. We are the _Imagineers on Instagram, and at Imagine_ears on Twitter. You can also find us on YouTube. That's where all of these video episodes live forever. So you can go back and look at those.
Yikes.
Plus, we'll keep adding additional content as we eventually start going back to the parks. We will definitely do the kitchen sink Sunday. So I know we've been talking about that for a long time.
Yeah.
But Food and Wine is going on in the parks right now. A modified version, but I've heard there's some very, very good things in the festival this year. Some new things that I want to try. So like the ribeye taco. Ooh. Well, maybe not exciting for Susie.
If you're into it, it sounds good. Did I make you no, did you try anything? Because we were at Food and Wine last year and I went to the veggie truck. Did you get anything?
Yeah, I tried your jackfruit. What was that? I can't remember. What?
The kombucha? Is that what you?
I tried the kombucha, but there was a jackfruit dish.
Yeah. It's like a little barbecue veggie version of barbecue.
Yeah, it was okay. I still like.
Tried it, so I'm proud of you.
Yeah. So, but we
normally good.
Anyway, but come check us out on YouTube as well. You can find us for Imagineers Disney Podcast. Just search for our little blue logo with our white ears. Imagine ears. And thanks to everyone who's been watching tonight. So we gotta say hey to Vetter. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Watching on YouTube.
Yay!
And, hello to Ethan as well. Love your guys' podcast. Thank you so much.
Yay! Thank you, Ethan. Awesome.
And we have a Susie fan. Okay. Do y'all have a favorite drink at Epcot? Susie?
I don't drink, but I liked the kombucha at the Food and Wine Festival. But that's the good thing about Disney is no matter like what you're into, you can easily find something, whether it's at a festival or all year round.
Yes, and same here. So, and you know that's a great thing about Epcot. People think that Epcot is just for drinking and around the world, and while that may be true for some people, there are great options at every booth, typically during the festivals, to try other things as well. So
yeah, so don't be discouraged because they have like alcoholic and non-alcoholic versions of most of the drinks. There she is.
So yeah,
you know,
Mike,
go, Kayla. We'll try everything.
Mike, thank you so much. Mike says you guys rock. We appreciate you, Mike. Thank you. Yeah. And Christoph is watching on YouTube as well. Another insightful and informative episode, by the way, guys. Thank you, sir. So we love doing the podcast, and we just enjoy the topics that we kind of brainstorm and think, oh, you know, these would be really cool to kind of talk about. So if you have enjoyed today's podcast, like these friends of ours, go find us. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere that you can find a podcast. We are probably there. And go subscribe. Tell us what you love about the podcast. Leave us a rating. And we just look forward to coming at you next week with another episode. And until then, friends, remember, if you can dream it, you can do it.
There's really no secret about our approach. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors, doing new things, because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. We're always exploring and experimenting.